What is going on, everybody? Today we have another news update, and this is one a lot of people have probably been waiting for. Today we'll be discussing the new mask guidelines for Six Flags parks across North America. Now, first off, I'd like to say this is an extremely sensitive topic for a lot of people, so in turn for that, I will be turning off comments for this video to avoid mask controversy and arguments. But if you have any questions regarding today's video, make sure to DM me on my Instagram using the link below, and you can also email me if you don't have Instagram using my email that I've listed in the description. This is all changing very rapidly, so make sure to subscribe to my channel so you get news updates on Six Flags and all the other chains in the country as parks start to update their guidelines in accordance to the federal and state governments and the CDC. Also, make sure to give this video a like so more people can see this and more people can get the correct information. Now, with all that being said, let's hop into the topic of today's video. So the first park we're going to be checking out is Six Flags Darien Lake. It is my home park and a lot of your home parks as well. I'm going to go park by park on the Six Flags chain so everybody knows what their specific home park or any park that they will be visiting has in terms of mask guidelines. So what Darien Lake stated was, as we continue to follow CDC guidelines as well as federal and state regulations, effective on Saturday, May 22nd, fully vaccinated guests and team members will no longer be required to wear face masks in our park. We will continue to recommend masks for unvaccinated individuals. Each park is a little bit different based on state and federal guidelines. Darien Lake only talked about the mask policy and not some other things that we'll get to later, but anyways, if you are fully vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask at Darien Lake, which is really cool to see that people have the option to choose. I just got my first dose of the Pfizer vaccine yesterday. Even my arm's a little bit sore from it, so I'm excited to be able to not wear a mask if I choose to do so at Darien Lake when it gets to that time. Now, for those who are not vaccinated or in the process of getting vaccinated like me, the park did not give a clear-cut answer on whether we'll be required to wear masks. The word recommend makes me think we won't, but I'm not 100% sure about that. There was similar wording for most of the other parks, so I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on my Instagram and possibly a community post if needed. So definitely read up on your park's guidelines before visiting. Moving on to Six Flags America, people will no longer be required to wear masks outdoors that are fully vaccinated. Masks will still be required indoors per county regulations. Temperature checks are being discontinued and reservations will not be required to visit the park anymore. Six Flags Over Georgia has put in place a similar policy, except they will not require people to wear masks indoors. The same goes for Six Flags Over Texas and Six Flags Fiesta Texas, as well as Frontier City and Six Flags St. Louis. Six Flags Great Adventure released a little more complicated message. They're running a similar policy to Six Flags America. They mentioned that masks will still be required in indoor locations such as indoor rides, restrooms, arcades, gift shops, and restaurants while not eating or drinking. They also will not conduct temperature screenings for guests or require advanced reservations to visit the theme and water parks. However, they will still require reservations at the Wild Safari and certain special events like Coaster Power Hours and Expedition Dino due to limited availability. Guests and team members should continue to social distance and utilize hand sanitizing stations throughout the park. We don't have any word yet on the California parks, Six Flags Great America, Great Escape, Six Flags Mexico, or La Ronde. We have also not heard anything from Six Flags New England yet either. At this time, we're actually not too sure if social distancing requirements are going to be removed. In my experiences, social distancing was pretty much non-existent at the Six Flags parks that I've been to since the start of the pandemic, so I wouldn't really expect much change in that. However, one of the big things is spacing out on rides and roller coasters at parks like Darien Lake and Six Flags Magic Mountain. Guests have been spaced out on rides and attractions that aren't socially distanced already. I have a hard time imagining they're going to keep those restrictions for long if the state and federal guidelines allow them to not do those, because it's a big killer to capacity and really forms long lines, especially at a park like Darien Lake where most of the coasters can only run one train. Lines can honestly get really long and annoying. Also, one thought I had on removing mask requirements from the parks is that it'll be a lot easier for the parks with guests not wearing masks and stuff. That was always a big issue before. The employees would have to yell at the guests, or they wouldn't really know what to do and just kind of let it slide. So the park probably won't have to deal with that awkward situation anymore. For those of you wondering, I probably expect hand sanitizer stations remaining in the park for the time being. COVID is obviously still around, so it would make sense to keep this kind of stuff out. And I think it'd be a very reasonable thing to keep them out. It's always nice to have it there. But with that being said, I'll definitely make sure to keep you guys updated on the mask requirements. I'm going to try to keep opinions out of it, as I don't think it's fair for me to give you guys anything but the facts and just the facts only. Once again, you can go follow my Instagram by clicking the link in the description to stay updated on all the latest and greatest Six Flags and other Darien Lake and Western New York news. There's a couple other things pertaining to the mask requirements and one thing not pertaining to the mask requirements I'd like to cover for the rest of this video. Most chains are dropping the mask requirement, like Cedar Fair, for vaccinated guests. Disney and Universal are dropping the requirement, and I believe SeaWorld is dropping the requirement at some of their parks as well. I know parks like Hershey Park and Kennywood are looking into dropping them. So basing off what we're seeing, I could probably conclude that most parks will not be requiring masks by midsummer, especially as vaccination rates rise and COVID case rates drop. But I think it would be very reasonable to expect to visit any park if you're vaccinated and not have to wear a mask. If you choose to, of course. But one thing I gotta highly recommend before you go to any park this year is read the park guidelines and see if it requires reservations, masks, social distancing. Just make sure to check before you go to the park, because you don't want to get a nasty surprise and get turned away from the gate or something like that. But there's one last thing I'd like to cover before I end this video, and that's about Darien Lake. A lot of you guys were disappointed this past weekend when Ride of Steel and Moto Coaster and quite a few other rides were closed for the pass holder preview weekend. I know staffing has been an issue for the park, and that's probably part of the reason why some of the rides weren't open, but I do know that Ride of Steel and Moto Coaster weren't inspected for the park's preview event, so that's why they weren't open as far as I knew. But I have some good news. Moto Coaster has been inspected, and I expect to see that coaster running sooner or later. So that is definitely some very exciting news. I also know Ride of Steel is likely to be open, and I've actually heard from employees, and I've also heard that the park president said that the ride will be open for this weekend. So that is definitely some great things to be hearing going into the park's formal opening weekend. But with all that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's update. Make sure to subscribe to get more news updates coming soon, and also like this video so more people can get the correct information and can be prepared to visit their park. But with all that being said, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.